Legends, what is going on? Hope you guys are having a wonderful week. I know that this has been long overdue. I know that I've been telling you guys that I'm going to be coming out with some mini video lessons on the last 8 or 9 trades that I have taken, last couple of weeks of trading. And so here are the mini lessons, Legends. I'm excited to get into it. And so if you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment down below or send me a message, and I'm more than happy to help out. And so with that, Legends, let's get started. Euro US dollar to begin. And so what we had saw here, Legends, to start off was we saw this big push by euro in which price was very extended, and more importantly, it did push into this weekly area where we knew a lot of orders were going to be sitting from the buyers. Now, the Legends know and how we go about trading. To switch momentum, right, we first do need to see a daily break. And so we did notice this reversal pattern pushing straight into the weekly support here. And so this is exactly how we went about the play. We did see this initial break in which that's what started the initial uptrend, with 2 points being the low and the high there. From there, we did receive a beautiful state of liquidation, which developed the third point, the higher low. And from there, we created higher highs. Now, we didn't get into the trade whatsoever just yet. Keep in mind, the main reason is that you can see here that even though we validated 4 points, this being the low, that being the high, this being the higher low, that being the higher high, we can see that price created its higher high straight into the previous lower high. And so as the Legends know, part of the platform that I run, price can only move in 3 ways: up, down, and sideways. And so if you want to go up, you must get rid of the down. If you want to go down, you must get rid of the up. Never state that you're going to warrant continuation of a momentum by breaking down the current momentum. You have to break down past structure. And so we can see here that price did in fact push straight into the previous lower high here. Now, for us to go about taking the trade, we just simply looked for the same trend cycle that I formed before to form here. And so you can see that we do receive this initial impulse, which is a consistence of 2 points. Now, the beautiful thing here, Legends, is that we did see a lovely continuation pattern forming straight into this previous lower high. And you guys can see that I do have it marked here to the right. And so keep in mind that this whole area here is falsely broken. So for us, all we were simply looking for was actually a clean break and retest above this previous lower high to warrant short-term higher highs, creating the 4th point once again in this initial impulse. So once we did that, Legends, we did 2 things. A, we invalidated the past structure. B, we validated this as a higher low. And we actually did 3 things. Third thing is that we warranted a 4th point once again within this whole ascending structure. Now, keep in mind, this is a liquidated movement. Therefore, trades are warranted as short term. This is your driver to the left. And so once we did get into the trade, we simply targeted that 114 handle for 2 reasons. A, it's a psychological level. We know pending orders from the sellers are going to be sitting in. B, we can see that the sells ideally did begin by breaking below that 114 handle, which could, and it did at the time though, could have warranted a structural retest for another drop to break the lows, which in fact did happen. And so we played that absolutely perfect. And so once again, Legends, the biggest variables that warranted us to pull the trigger on something like this was A, we did in fact create an initial trend cycle, and B, we did continue another one once we broke the highs here. But the most important thing is that we did in fact invalidate past structure to warrant further continuation of this movement. Keep in mind the movement was liquidation, and so short-term, moderate to higher risk. Last but not least, we did have more confluences such as this continuation pattern forming into the lower high. At the same point, we can see that price was trying to potentially reverse after looking at how it formed into a major weekly region. And so really nice to see. I know a lot of Legends took this trade with me, and so shout out to you guys. With that, that's the reasons why we took the Euro US dollar. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Let's get to the next one. The next trade, Legends, that we did take, which was in that same week, was GBP USD, and it was this buy to the upside. Was really nice and smooth. More importantly, this was taken at the same time of when we took Euro US dollar. Now, I do just want to highlight that previous lower high here, as that is one main reason why, once again, we had taken this trade. And so let's get into the reasons. First and foremost, we did have this descending momentum, which was treated as liquidation or profit taking from this previous daily driver. And so looking at how we went about taking the trade, first and foremost, legends of the platform know to switch momentum, we need a daily break, which we did receive, which was our 2 points, the high and the low. Secondly, with every impulse or in any trend cycle, you do need a higher low, lower high to form, or liquidation at the same time. So after we did get that impulse, we did receive a nice short state of liquidation or relief, and from there we rallied once more. Best part about these movements right here is that we validate a trend, a low and a high, a higher low and a higher high. There are our 4 points. Now, how we went about the structure is as follows. We do see that price makes this huge impulse to the upside. More importantly, it pushes straight into the previous lower high of this descending momentum. Just like I mentioned on Euro US dollar, to go up, you must invalidate the down. And so looking at what structure was doing after we made that initial impulse, which consists of 2 points, we did move into a state of liquidation or profit taking. Now, keep in mind, this liquidation or profit taking is only a consistence of 2 points. So we must, in fact, wait for the highs to break to warrant further continuation, and more importantly, validate that this is a higher low. And so notice what had happened here. We didn't enter here, even though that is a lower high, only because taking entry from here, putting our stops here, tagging the highs, the R&R wouldn't be optimal. And so what we did wait for, legends, was a beautiful breakout of that lower high here, followed by a retest of the current highs and lower high, closing above, validating two things. A, the 4th point in this initial impulse that started. Secondly, validating this is a higher low, which allows us to warrant a further continuation to the upside in this entire push now. And so main reason why I didn't put my stops below this entire region, but only below this last little higher low, is because we are moving off of this current impulse. Secondly, my feeling was if we did in fact break back below, the entry would have been false. No reason to be in the trade. We're most likely just going to sit in more of a range bound environment. And so taking a look, once we had gotten in the trade, my ideal exit area was this next lower high here. Reason being, legends, is A, that is a lower high in the past structure, and B, more importantly, you can see that the sell had started near that 130, 150 handle. And so wasn't really looking to see if price could crack the tops, as we were pushing straight into a region where there's a lot of sellers that are going to come into the market. This is a major area for sellers, and so just wanted to take this short term to the highs. Really nice, beautiful play. Once again, consists of the same variables that Euro US dollar had, simply just had to wait on a movement like this. And so with that, that's GBP USD. The next play, legends, that we had taken, which was actually in the same week, we were 3 for 3 in that week, firing away, really feeling the market, was this US dollar CAD play. Now, out of all the trades that I'm going to be reviewing, this is the only trade that was more of a personal trade, feeling just how the markets are moving and decided to pull the trigger. And so looking at just some of the reasons why I was looking to pull this trigger. First and foremost, you can see that we are descending here on the daily time frame. Secondly, take a look at the cyclical behavior occurring within this descending momentum. We do receive a huge impulse followed by a short-term state of liquidation. But notice this, when we start to continue, we simply impulse straight out. No real areas to enter. And so you can see, once again, nice state of liquidation after that impulse. And once again, when we break out, no real room to enter. And so what I'm noticing here, first and foremost, this liquidation is much different than these two previous liquidations. Why? These two previous liquidations are actually trends that have 4 points, a low, a high. When we crack the highs here, we created a higher low here. Same concept here, a low and a high, higher low when we crack the highs. In this push here, on the 2 hour, we see a very little structure, this being the higher low, but on the 4 hour and daily, this was just a straight impulse. So I'm having the feeling, once again, history will repeat itself, past predicts future. If price does in fact correct out of this short-term state of liquidation, we're most likely going to impulse straight back down. So what I was looking for here, legends, was honestly just a break of any previous past structure I could find. I'm going to try to get in. I'm feeling really good. Keep in mind, I got 2 wins under the belt already. And so looking at structure, this was our low and our first high when we did, in fact, impulse. And this was the smallest pullback or higher low that this short-term uptrend had represented before creating new highs. And so for me, what I was looking for was ideally to see if price can in fact close below from here and maybe start putting in some orders. Now, like I said, a personal trade. And so about 15 minutes before this candle closed, I decided to pull the trigger and just went through my way. Not really as much of a textbook play as I would tell the legends, and not something that I'm not necessarily advising individuals to go ahead and try to do. This was something more for me that I was feeling really good after those 2 W's. And so decided to take this. Couple other reasons what was going through my head at the time was we were at a major area of resistance. So of course, selling at resistance. Secondly, more importantly, you can see that after this impulse was made, we did create a short-term reversal pattern. So the confluences were there. Just the issue was entry. Can this in something like this can be argued, can be subjective only because this is more of a personal play. But all the other setups that I'm going to show you and the 2 past ones that I showed you, no subjection on those. And so with that, that's US dollar CAD, more of a personal play, legends. And so hope you guys enjoyed that one. GBP USD is up next, legends, in which after taking that USD CAD play, I actually took a GU sell the following week. And so these are the reasons for it. First and foremost, once again, to switch momentum, first we need a daily breakout, followed by a short-term state of relief, creating that 3rd point within our trend. Now, just keep in mind, we did in fact warrant a trend cycle with this high, this low, lower high, and once we broke, creating lower lows. I actually remember missing that trade at the start of the week. And so looking at how I went about the current trade I'm about to review with you guys, same concept. We do receive a short-term impulse, creating 2 points, and then from there, a nice state of liquidation or relief, potentially warranting that 3rd point. Now, one thing that I really want you legends to keep in mind, this trade in particular was a win-win situation for me, even if I lost. Why? Keeping in mind that last week we took this buy to the upside. In this current week that I was trading, I knew that at the time GBP USD was in a state of liquidation or relief from this driver. So I was still expecting the long at some point. So for me, what I was trying to do was warrant a 4th point within this push here. But at the same point, I did tell the legends when entering in here, if I do in fact get stopped out or the trade becomes false, it's fine. I'll lose 30, 40 pips on it. But then I'm just going to look for the bigger play to the upside because we're still stating that this is all relief from this driver and we're still expecting one more push up. And so when I did take it, I was okay with it because it was going to be a win-win regardless. If I lose the sell, that's fine. We're still going to go with a bigger term buy. I'll make the loss back and some. But luckily, not luckily, thankfully, it went through, legends. And so with that, looking at how I went to GBP USD, how I went about it, let's take a look. So looking at this, what I did, legends, here was you guys can see that I pulled fibs from the high to the low here just to potentially see if I can represent some higher lows within this previous ascending structure. And so you can see that really the main higher lows are where I'm highlighting within here. But once we started moving up within this short-term impulse, you can see that it's very difficult to identify the highs and the lows. So what I actually did was I entered on the 2-hour time frame in this, but just want to show you guys something real quick. If you take a look at the pink circle that I had illustrated here, that is a false break off of this 382, and that 382 actually, legends, represents a short-term higher low in the 2-hour time frame. And so just so you guys can see how I went about taking the trade, like I said, that pink area is a false break on the 4-hour, so it doesn't really matter to me. More importantly, you can see that this 382 actually identifies this previous higher low. And so how I went about it is as follows. After we received that impulse, which consists of our initial 2 points, we did receive a nice state of liquidation or relief, which was attempting to form our 3rd, our lower high. And if we did in fact crack these lows once more, that validates a 4th, a lower low, as well as invalidates a previous higher low in the past structure, warranting further continuation of this descending momentum. And so taking a look at how I went about it, just like all the other trades, we received a break. From there, we did receive our retest and we did pull the trigger. Now, Couple of main reasons. Once again, legends. A, I'm invalidating past structure. B, I'm warranting 4 points within my trend. C, have some confluences backing me, such as the potential pattern, the way price has been acting, and also the game plan behind it. Now, the biggest, and main reason why I was happy taking it was because even though if this was going to come and take me out, that was okay, because all we were going to do now was look for the long off of this corrective movement from this previous impulse. And so we can see that price did push exactly as expected. Just want to show you guys the targeted area was in the previous highs, also where this short-term impulse had begun. And so those are the reasons why I took GBP USD. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Up next, legends, is NZD USD. And this was a trade here that was really beautiful. Went straight into profit once we had pulled the trigger, but everything was lining up. And so let's get into it. We can see to start, NZD USD made a very aggressive push into a major area where buyers were going to attempt to start getting into the market. Now, the legends know, who are part of my platform, first, this is a reversal pattern pushing straight into an area where buyers are going to come in. Secondly, to switch momentum, we need to warrant a trend. We need to form a trend cycle. And so we did receive a daily break here, creating our 2 points, short-term relief, creating our higher low, point number 3. And from there, when we broke the highs, we warranted a trend. Now, a lot of individuals were like, why didn't you take the trade once those highs broke and retest? Keep in mind, entering here, putting my stops here, and trying to tag the tops where this previous lower high sits is not an optimal trade, as this could simply just be treated as relief, rocket straight back down. More importantly, the risk to reward is not there, so we're not interested. So if you take a look at how I went about the trade, I simply just waited a bit more for this previous lower high to, in fact, become invalidated. And we did, in fact, break above here, legends, followed by a beautiful retest above this previous lower high. Now, not just the lower high on the 4 hour, but that's actually the only lower high on the daily that you'll find out of this whole descending push. Now, one thing real quick, I want to show you guys why I targeted where I targeted, and more importantly, why I circled this little region. Now, first, targeted to the tops near the weekly resistance first, because we are at a weekly level, so we know sellers are going to start coming into the market. Secondly, more importantly, this is where the bearish momentum began. Hence, that could be a structural retest, treating all of this as relief, pushing straight back down. And so didn't want to deal with that potential. Always keep in mind, when you're taking trades, you always want to factor in what can the counter argument make, what can the counter side say to you. And so nice, simple, and easy. No subjectiveness to this. Just one thing. A lot of legends asked, why would I not care about this region? Keep in mind that our biases are coming from the daily, our directions. And so you take a look at it, this little point that I highlighted there doesn't exist on the daily. So entering here, legends, on the smaller time frame and worrying about something like this on the 4 hour doesn't really make sense, as the daily was just a straight impulse. And so this is going to at least attempt to push back into it. That previous region on the 4 hour will not affect the trade. And so didn't necessarily care about that region. Of course, I was going to mentally watch it, but fixed TPs were at the regions that I showed you guys. And so with that, that's NZD USD and the reasons why I took it. AUD USD is up next, legends. And so let's get into the reasons why I took this buy. One thing to keep in mind, legends, is when I took this buy, I already took NZD USD and NZD JPY. And so one of the reasons that was really pulling me to go and take this trade was, regardless that the technicals were already confirmed for further continuation, the fact that New Zealand looks extremely bullish, and I know that New Zealand and AUD, they tend to correlate a bit. And so my feeling was, if New Zealand's going to push, that means AUD is going to push, as long as we got no catalyst to cause price to move in an opposite direction. And so reasons why I took the trade are as follows. We did see AUD USD make a very strong push into a region where buyers are going to start stepping into the market. Now, of course, to switch momentum, we need a trend cycle to come about. And so first and foremost, we received this short-term break to the upside. creating our first 2 points, potentially warranting a trend. We did receive a short-term state of liquidation or relief, potentially validating that as a higher low. And when we did in fact break and successfully retest the highs, did validate a 4th point. But biggest reason, legends, why we could also look for an entry within that region is because when this validated the 4th point, we also did in fact break the last lower high of this entire downward push. And so we did warrant short-term higher highs. We're starting to invalidate some of the bearish momentum. Now, entry at the time should have been there. Now, I was late to the party, but when I was looking at NZD USD and NZD JPY and AUD USD, AU was about here. NZD USD, which I just did a video on you guys for, was about here. Same exact structure as AU. So my whole feeling is NU is about to take off. AU is going to follow with it. Let's see what happens. So taking the trade, knowing that I'm entering an extended movement. Game plan was I'm not running a normal, structured trade. Rather, I'm going to see if I get the push. And if price starts falsely breaking, we're going to close manually, break-even trade. And that's exactly what happened. A break-even trade for me is any trade under 10 pips or really just trades that don't hit stops. And so this was just a 9-pip loss that counted as a break-even trade. Now, a couple things that I want you guys to take into consideration, which will allow you guys to move in a better manner and things that I should have kept in mind at the time. First, this is a liquidated market. This is your driver, and this is all relief at the time. And so when I exited out of NZD USD, secured the bag, exited out of NZD JPY, secured that bag too, I should have closed AUD USD. There was no point in me being in the market. Now, look, I already took 2 bags. And so I'm thinking in my head, let's leave a runner. Let's see if we get a little bonus. That's the wrong mentality, especially when the structure is not set up for a true trend continuation, right? This is a liquidated market, short-term plays. At the same time, I'm taking an extended movement, really not wise. And so lesson learned, that's fine. When price did in fact start coming back into where I initially entered, cut the rope, said not really interested anymore, and we closed for a negative 9-pip loss. Regardless that the trade continued to move up, I could care less. The biggest reasons that I closed was A, I knew I was entering an extended movement. B, I'm trading a liquidated market. And C, my other 2 main drivers, NZD USD and also the NZD JPY trade I'm taking, all correlated rather the same basket of pairs at the moment. And so should have closed AUD USD as well during the time. All good though. Short-term break-even trade there, which is cool. And so those are the reasons why I took AUD USD. Was up for about 20-ish pips, but nothing too special on this. And so break-even trade here, all good. NZD JPY is up next, legends. NZD JPY is up next, legends, and decided to throw in some naked trading here. Shout out to the legends at KTFRX for calling this trade. Absolutely beautiful. This was really, really nice. You guys know that I am a main dollar player, and so when these crosses pop up, it's usually the fellow legends that are sharing their trades, telling me what's good with the market. And so I appreciate you guys. Let's get into it. First, we can see that NZD JPY pushed into a major region owned by the buyers. Secondly, we can see that a trend cycle did in fact form before entering. Just to keep in mind, I had entered above here. Let's go into the reasons before what was making me want to get in the trade. We do see an initial impulse, which starts our 2 points, our low and our high. We do create a short-term state of liquidation, which creates point number 3 once we do in fact break the highs. Now, even though we broke the highs and successfully retested, keep in mind, legends, we are at the previous lower high here. It is not worth it to try and fight the market. Let it prove to you it's going to move in the direction that you seek. And so what did we do? We waited for a nice break above the previous lower high. As I always say, in order to go up, you must get rid of the down. To go down, you must get rid of the up. And so we started invalidating previous past structure. From there, we did receive our confirmation, and then we did see a nice push to the upside. Not only did we invalidate past structures, create another 4th point within this small short-term push, being the low, that high, higher low once we create the highs, but at the same time validating this as a higher low, allowing us to put our stops there. And so we simply just ran it to the highs, legends, because you guys can see here in the past that sellers did in fact come in and take care of the job, start beating up the buyers here. And so was a really nice short-term push to the upside. Once again, shout out to the legends at KTFRX for holding down this trade. Appreciate you guys. Agreed 100% with why you guys pulled the trigger. And so with that, the 10 to DJPY, the reasons why I took it. USD CAD up next, legends. Some more recent trades this past week, actually. Starting off with USD CAD, which was the first trade that I had placed this week. Started off with an L, and that's all good. Losses happen, legends. They're learning lessons. No one's perfect in the end of the day, and it's all good. Let's get into the reasons why this trade didn't go through and how we can learn for the future. First and foremost, we do see that USD CAD made this huge rally to the upside. And so we do know that this movement is all treated as liquidation or relief. However, let's go over a couple of things real quick. Just going over the basis of the structure. We do receive a really nice impulsive movement, potentially invalidating this initial push if we can get below this previous higher low, right? We need to invalidate past structure to warrant further continuation of the current momentum. And so we do receive this beautiful impulse in which we do receive this nice state of liquidation or relief. Now, keep in mind, legends, when I took this trade, trading a little bit off of emotions and not so much on how I should be going about it. Structured, disciplined, harmonized, and sedated mindset. And so I'm going to be real with you, legends, tell you how it went about. Wake up around 8:45 in the morning, and I'm taking a look at the messages real quick, and I'm getting messages like, legend, look at USD CAD. USD CAD's really pushing. This is the trade setup. Let's rock and roll. And so looking at it, didn't even get out of bed yet. Just being real with you, legends. And I was like, you know what? Feeling good. Been really hitting my numbers. More importantly, we're at the end of the quarter. I got a trade or two to give back to maybe make a little bit of extra bonus if it does go through. Let's see what happens. However, I knew I wasn't in front of the screen. More importantly, I knew that price wasn't completely confirmed. Why? Because all we had was a breakout of this last higher low. And that breakout is a mere indication. The legends know that. I know that. I just didn't feel like listening to the rules for whatever reason. Now, main reasons, legends, was just acting a little bit more off of emotion than anything else, which is foolish and really shouldn't be done. However, like I said, was on a little bit of a hot streak. And so I'm okay with that in my own personal trading. I'm okay with giving back one or two. And so big thing though, legends, and what I'm really happy about is that I did not enter full position. Okay. Only put half of my normal position in. Reason being, once again, was A, I'm not in front of the computer. B, it's just a breakout. And C, I knew that this is a very impulsive movement, so we could get some type of relief and still drop for one more. And so you guys can see how the trade played out, straight to stop, and that's perfectly okay. I could care less about it because I know the reasons why the trade didn't go through. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. Simply going to learn and move forward. And so when this trade did, in fact, take me out of the market, it whipped me straight back into shape and said, all right, time to go back to being sedated and harmonized, back to business. And so got taken out of USD CAD. However, and then the next video, what I'm going to review with you guys, we were able to take a bag home on CHFJPY, which allowed us to still finish up for the week. But just want to show you guys here that even though I go on streaks sometimes, even though other traders go on streaks sometimes, we all lose. Losses happen. The most important thing is that you legends learn from it and you move forward. You don't weep. You guys don't cry over it. You guys learn and you guys move forward. And so it's all good. Went against my rules, live and learn. And so with that, legends, that's US dollar CAD and the reasons why I pulled the trade. And last but not least, legends, CHFJPY to finish us off. This was the second trade of this current week after taking the loss on USD CAD, which actually took the bag home for us and allowed us to finish still profitable on the week. And so let's get into the reasons why I took the trade. First and foremost, we see this huge push to the downside, okay? Now, keep in mind, for us to warrant a trend, we need the components of a trend cycle to start forming. And so to see how I went about the buy, we did see this short-term impulse to the upside, which started to create our first 2 points, our low and our high. Now, we did receive a state of liquidation or relief, but price was never breaking out of the current highs to validate a fourth point. Now, you guys can say this is a higher, higher high, higher low, higher high, but keep in mind, I'm looking big picture with regards to daily and things of that nature. So we do make this initial impulse. More importantly, take a look at where price pushed straight into. which was the previous lower high of this descending momentum. And so how I went about it is as follows. We do see here that price is creating a short-term state of liquidation or relief, gathering orders, all of that good stuff for another rally to the upside. But learned my lesson real quick on USD CAD, and so was not going to fire away until I received my confirmations according to my rules. And so we did in fact receive a breakout. Beautiful. Not taking it though, right? Learned the lesson from USD CAD, and so we did in fact receive our retest, confirming to us that previous lower high is now invalidated. Price should continue to the upside. More importantly, legends, validating now the fourth point within this bullish structure. Secondly, validating this is a higher low. And so you guys can see entered here, targeted this previous lower high, also where the sell had begun. And so nice little short-term push to the upside there. Nothing too crazy, nothing too complicated in something like this. Once again, wasn't something on my radar. You guys know that I am a mainly dollar player. And so shout out to the FX Addict and the boys at KTFRX once again for looking at this trade. You boys held it down. I appreciate you guys showing this to me. I was able to capitalize on it and secure a bag. And so lesson learned this week for sure. It's all good. If you go on hot streaks, simply live and learn when you guys do see a small hiccup in your run. And so with that, legends, that's CHFJPY, the reasons why I took it. More importantly, those are the last 4 weeks of trading. 1 break even, 1 loss, 7 W's. Looking good, legends. Keep rocking and rolling. Keep striving. If you guys got any questions, as always, please don't hesitate to reach out. Hope you guys enjoyed these videos. Speak to you guys later.